the first critical choice I made on my journey, and I want to loop us here for a minute and get your perspective. For me, it was to pick up the phone when my sister called that day. And most people know my story, so we're not going to get into it. I believe, and I have heard from you in our conversations, that we all make first choices. We all make first choices, whether it's practical or profound, and success begins with making that first choice. And as you reflect on your journey to where you are today, to this enduring success, is there a first choice that you would share that you've made?
Wow. I feel like we are constantly making them over and over again because you get thrown curveballs in life and you're like, okay, we're resilience check to see exactly what you're made of. I would have to say my first choice, the first time I remember making a definite choice was probably in high school where this is a whole nother path, but growing up and observing what was going on in my household. There's 11, I have 10 siblings. It's a very large family. We're on a farm. Witnessing some hard things in life, abuse wise, and just knowing in high school is like, I am not going to end up in the same boat. I am going to make my life different. I am going to go to college. I am going to get a career, and I am going to move someplace warmer because Indiana was so cold. So
I love the specificity.
That played up right there at the top of I got to get somewhere warmer where the sun shines a little more. Sorry, Indiana. So I can remember then just deciding I am going to college, and I was on me to pay for it and work my way through. But I knew that was going to be the first stepping stone to enduring success. I needed my education. So went after that, and then met Mo, and we ended up getting married right after I graduated. So thinking I'm all grown up at 22. Woohoo! I know.
Right? How young?
That's how long we've been married. And now that I have a 21 and 24-year-old, I'm like, wow, how I can't imagine them married right now. They're forever. Right. So we did that, and we did not have jobs, and we moved to Atlanta and found some temporary jobs while we were here before we each found something in our fields. I became a teacher, and he was an actuary, and that's where that started. But and then just as we marched through life, constantly choosing for our children how do we want their lives to be even better than ours? How the millions of choices that's involved with just being a parent, and parenting was a lot harder than I thought. I grew up with such a big family, thinking 2 kids, no problem. I want 4. Now I had 1, and I was like, wow, this is really hard. It's really hard. So I think not knowing all the labels for everything now about a diagnosis, but that's when I leaned on horses, and I was like, I've got to get back to the horse. The horse, for some reason, brings me the peace and grounding that I need to be a parent, and that was hard. So choosing again to listen to your heart and follow the thing that is calling you. Thankfully, I have a wonderful husband who allowed me to go chase that dream. And
it's crazy horse stuff.
Yeah. Right. go chasing my horses. So we ended up adopting this rescue horse, and it kind of snowballed from there. But again, another choice, just always, even then with this cancer, not quite as easy just to choose to move on. It's something different. It gets inside of you in a different way than an external something working on you. Say your environment, abusive situations. This, I don't know, it's something that sort of grows inside of you. So this is a different kind of battle, and it's testing my resilience in that way, in a new way, as far as trying to figure out how to balance this anxiety versus you're finding ways to live uh, and be well. The horses again. The
Yeah.
horses have been my steady and my rock, and the community that has grown from the therapeutic business that I do. They've all been just amazing in their support of me and the program and helping me wherever is needed. All of that. But again, gosh, choices just to get this farm, choices to set up this program. So many decisions. Hard to know where the first one came from, but I feel like we just keep making them over and over and over again.
And you just crystallized how I feel, because I do feel that way, and I've experienced that there's a series of first choices
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
are made at different times, in our lives. And I appreciate how you start with, it was a choice that I was going to go to college. And
Yeah.
I bet, like, we won't dissect this. This is just in my brain for other people that are listening to this. It's like that choice then creates the other choices, so that's what I'm going to do. And so therefore that's going to be my compass, my North Star to the other choices that I'm making. And I just think each of us has the ability to make these choices, but sometimes it's hard, right? It's hard to make first choices. And
Yeah.
Becky and I are here just to tell you to make them, And okay, I will move on from here in a second, but I want to bring us back to something, or bring us to something that Mo shared, not just with me, but with his community when you were going through your journey through breast cancer. You chose to participate in that mule riding exhibition. I'm not even saying it right. I'm not even saying it right, but I am so beyond floored by what you did. So could you just tell me a little bit about it?
I would love to tell you about this. So as I told you, I'm a fan of endurance sports. I was a cross country runner. I competed with my horses in endurance riding, and we have this sweet donkey, Louis Hamilton. He's a miniature donkey, and through a book, Running with Sherman is the book where I first learned about pack burro racing. So pack burro racing takes place mainly out west because it's a big sport out there. It comes from the gold mining days, where people would take their burros up into the hills, mine for gold, and then race back to town with their gold to claim their stake. So this is still a sport that is alive and well out west, even though we're not mining for gold. But you run with a burro off into the hills and back to town. And the burro carries all the mining equipment. So it has 30 pounds of mining equipment on its back in a pack. And you run with this burro. I did a 15-mile race. There's also the 30-mile race. And these take place in all kinds of small towns out west, especially months. But running with a burro, if you've ever spent time with a donkey, oh my gosh, the life lessons learned, that they are the best teachers ever, and they're so freaking smart that you can't just push them around and make them do the things that you want them to do. It has to be, you got to work as partners. You've got to work as partners. So this race took place out in Fairplay, Colorado, and so you start at 10,000 feet. So elevation, I'm coming from Atlanta. Elevation was and the altitude up there is something. And then you race to an even higher point and you run back to town. This was on the heels, or this was, we've been planning this trip with some really good friends for almost a year. And then I got hit with the breast cancer. And I'm like, oh man. So working through my recovery of that, got through radiation, and then I got hit by COVID really bad. So this is in June. The race is in July. I have yet to start training. I can't run. I'm so fatigued. I'm just so everything's so hard. So I start with some walking. I'm like, I am going to get up and I'm going to go. So we start with some walking. We start with some running, and I was you actually rent burros out there to do this. So I did not trek my own donkey out there. So the burros are trained and ready as far as their fitness level. So my burro was fine and working well out west. And I was in contact with the woman that owns them. And I'm like, these are the setbacks I've had. Can I still do this? Is this going to be okay? Will I make it? And she goes, I've paired you with a donkey that is very independent and pretty forgiving. So I think this will work. So I'm like, oh, thank you. Anyway, so we get out there, and and we get to the start, gun goes off, and there's 90 people running with their burros. I would love to show you a clip of the start. I mean, it just says,
oh my God.
And a lot of these runners are ultra marathoners. Like, this is a serious thing.
Wow.
They are runners, and I'm a runner at heart, but at that moment, I just didn't feel like I was that strong, for sure. And I had a friend running it with me. Now, he's an ultra marathoner, and his donkey Bo was they were just ahead of me. This is just in the first 2 miles, and I just about quit. I was just like, I can't breathe. Like, all the panic of my everything came welling up inside of me, and I didn't know if I could even do this. Why am I out there? Why am I pushing myself like this? This is crazy. What if my heart just stops? I've just had COVID, like all these things. It's just, it takes over your brain. Mm-hmm. And so he looked back at me and he goes, "You okay?" And I'm like, "No." And he goes, "Let's just walk for a minute." So he pulled back his donkey and we just walked. And then I caught my breath and started going again. And my donkey was willing to go, so we start running again. And it's funny because my friend's donkey decided he didn't want to go anymore. So marathoning buddy who pulled back to help me lost the momentum of his donkey, and his donkey decided that he was didn't want to go anymore. And you really can't, when a donkey doesn't want to go, you just can't get him to go. So he goes, keep going, I'll catch up. So my donkey and I keep going. And well, in the end, I didn't end up beating him. He got stuck out there with that 15, 20 minutes at a time at a complete standstill. Could not get that donkey to go. So this is the sport. This is the sport of the donkeys. For one, will be donkeys, but they also are trying to teach you how to get yourself in check and what you need to do to make this relationship work. Like, it was just such a learning experience. Oh. My donkey was not super easy either. We had to take our moments where we would just kind of spin in circles and she would come to a complete stop. And I'm like, but we're only halfway. And she's like, I don't care.
Right. Thank you. That is amazing. I'm going to have you share the clip with me, by the way. Thank you for joining me for our Choose and Become interview series. You could find this episode and others at trishkendall.com. Just go to trishkendall.com/choose-become-interview-series. Or if you have a question or just want to leave a comment, email me, trish@trishkendall.com.